3 cities, 1 week, and the mainstream press missed all of it. While the world was reverted by oil tickers over the Strait of Hormuz, something far larger was being quietly bottled into place. In Kazan, a key American ally stood shoulder to shoulder with Vladimir Putin to lock in the energy map of the 21st century. In Beijing, a manifesto released in mid-June formally declares the Western-led order obsolete. And in New Delhi, the security brain trust of the Global South has been convening to synchronize the next chapter. The shift happening right now isn't a crisis of the old world, it is the construction phase of a new one. Construction sites are easy to misread as collapse, unless you know what the blueprints look like. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what those blueprints say. I'm Anastasia, and this is Think BRICS, where we help you make sense of today's complex world without the overwhelm, using Global South insights so we grow wiser and clearer together. We follow the money, the energy deals, and who's really shaping the new world so you can separate headlines from what actually matters. No spin, just sense. Today, 3 critical BRICS developments from these recent days. The 16th BRICS National Security Advisor meeting in New Delhi, the war room setting the security architecture for the September Leaders Summit, the Russia ASEAN Summit in Kazan, where a major US treaty ally co-chaired a meeting with Putin to lock in an energy and sovereignty roadmap for Southeast Asia. China's Global Governance Manifesto, a white paper that labels NATO a Cold War relic and offers a 160-country alternative to Western-led institutions. Each of these elements is a piece of what some people call a multipolar order, and taken together, they tell a story that the evening news doesn't cover. So we will do it instead. The story starts in New Delhi, June 22nd. India hosted the 16th meeting of BRICS National Security Advisors. At the table, India's Ajit Doval, Russia's Sergei Shoigu, China's Wang Yi, and Iran's Nizamipur. It might look like a simple diplomatic social club, but this was a war room for intelligence synchronization. The goal was to get the security services, the people who actually handle counter-terrorism and cyber threats, talking to each other before the leaders meet in September. Wang Yi's presence is the real signal here. It's his second visit to India since the 2024 border disengagement. It shows the BRICS platform is being used to move past old friction in favor of a much larger alignment. Just so you know, we filmed this video while the New Delhi meeting was still underway. If anything shifts the picture, we will cover it first at thinkbrics.world, our new home base. Bookmark it. You will want it open this week. But here is what the numbers already make undeniable. We are not talking about de-dollarization as a possible thing for the future. We are looking at a finished product. And the numbers from the Russia ASEAN summit in Kazan prove it. Step back. What's the real leverage here? By 2025, approximately 85% of Russia's foreign trade was being settled in rubles or BRICS-related currencies. 4 years earlier, over 75% was in G7 currencies. And a total inversion of the financial landscape in under 48 months. De-dollarization is no longer a theory. It's a completed structural shift. Russia isn't just surviving sanctions. It is doing even more. It's actually helping other countries get out of the dollar system. The Strait of Hormuz crisis is accelerating this. With Iran threatening key shipping lanes, Southeast Asian nations are diversifying fast. In early 2026, Russian oil and fuel supplies to ASEAN countries surged 40% year on year. Even Singapore, which officially sanctioned Russia, saw its trade with Moscow grow 81% between 2022 and 2024. This is not an ideological choice. These nations are choosing strategic autonomy, a third pillar that breaks the binary between Washington and Beijing. And the Kazan summit gave them a multilateral framework to do exactly that through its joint statement on energy cooperation and the comprehensive plan of action for 2026-2030, which includes financial messaging systems designed to bypass Western banking infrastructure. Before we get to Kazan's most striking moment, I need to be direct. Think BRICS is a small independent team. No major funders, no lobbyists, no government backing. The deep dives we do depend entirely on your support. If this perspective matters to you, support us with a super thanks or via Buy Me a Coffee through the links below. And visit thinkbricks.world, that's where the full picture lives. So, did you catch who co-chaired the Russia ASEAN summit in Kazan? Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the president of the Philippines, the man the West considers its most dependable anchor in the Pacific. Yet there he was standing alongside Vladimir Putin, co-chairing a summit that produced the Kazan Declaration on the 35th anniversary of Russia-ASEAN relations. Marcos Jr. outlined three priorities: security, economic partnership, and energy security. He called explicitly for cooperation, not confrontation.
The summit underscored our collective commitment to strengthening cooperation across the political, security, economic, and social-cultural pillars of engagement. We exchanged views on promoting peace, stability, and sustainable development, enhancing trade and investment, strengthening food and energy security, advancing science and technology cooperation, and deepening people-to-people exchanges.
When a US treaty ally chairs a meeting in the Kazan Kremlin, the concept of a Russian pariah state clearly doesn't have sense anymore. It is the geopolitical sandwich strategy at work. Nations like the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand are tired of choosing between Washington and Beijing. By adding Russia as a third pillar, particularly through Rosatom's nuclear technology, they create a tripod. A tripod is always more stable than a tug of war, and Beijing provided the intellectual architecture for all of this. The white paper released in the middle of June, More Just and Equitable Global Governance, introduces the Global Governance Initiative already backed by nearly 160 countries. China calls for true multilateralism, attacks the Western small yard with high walls strategy of tech sanctions, and labels NATO a Cold War relic that should seriously reflect on its role in global instability. The deeper question isn't which side is winning a particular conflict. It's whether the framework that decides who wins or loses is itself being renegotiated, and by whom. Where is this heading? In the next 12 to 24 months, the rules-based order will not collapse, but it will be regionalized. The institutions of 1945 don't disappear, they simply stop being the only game in town. The New Delhi NSA meeting is the technical groundwork for September, where Xi and Putin are expected to ratify a permanent BRICS security coordination mechanism, a structured forum independent from NATO, covering cyber threats, terrorism, and intelligence sovereignty. On the energy side, the Rosatom pathway is significant beyond its megawatts. Nuclear energy is technological sovereignty. When you own a country's energy infrastructure for 60 years through nuclear fuel cycles, you don't need a military base to have lasting influence. Russia is already building the Ninh Thuan 1 nuclear project in Vietnam and training energy specialists across Indonesia and Malaysia. And watch the orbital layer. Russia has confirmed serial production of its Zorky satellite constellation, the Rassvet network, providing broadband and secure communications across the 9 time zones with BRICS partner access planned. It directly competes with Starlink and, if successful, creates infrastructure multipolarity in low Earth orbit. No single entity controls global connectivity. The players who gain in this realignment are building infrastructure, energy grids, settlement systems, satellite networks, governance frameworks. The players who lose are those whose power rests on controlling the choke points BRICS is now actively rooting around. 3 cities, 1 week, a security brain trust synchronized in New Delhi, an American ally co-signing Russia's energy vision in Kazan, a governance manifesto from Beijing that 160 countries are already reading as a blueprint. You don't have to agree with any of it, but you do have to understand it, because this is the world your next decade is being built inside of. Ask yourself one thing before you close this video. Who gets to decide what a fair world looks like? And are they the same people who decided last time? We'll keep digging, you keep thinking. Visit us at thinkbrics.world for everything we couldn't fit in here. Stay wise, stay clear, and thanks for watching.